Ghoul Rush. What is it? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's where you and an ally decide to get some ghouls together and go rush someone. That's what a Ghoul Rush is. But what is the aim of Ghoul Rush? Well, the aim of Ghoul Rush is to try to end the game early by destroying an opponent or crippling an opponent. If you can't end the game straight away, you still want to go ahead and try to financially destroy your opponent. So essentially what you're trying to do is you're going to get up inside of a base, preferably a night elf or an undead base, get by the main and destroy the main with your ghouls and potentially the mine as well. Generally with undead you go for the mine first and then the main, or you just get the mine and you get out and you keep hitting and hitting and hitting over and over again, crippling your enemies and forcing them to leave, or giving you and your ally such a strong advantage that you can't lose even with ghouls. Now I Ghoul Rush with Thomas and we both use the same build order. We've played around with a lot of different types and feeding each other at certain points to get more ghouls, and generally it just isn't worth it. It's quite simple, the build order for Ghoul Rush, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Alright, so for an example, this would be a typical game when it loads. It'll be 2 versus 2 arranged team, and you and your ally will both be undead. You're going to grab your acolytes, send them to the mine, get the ghoul to the wood and build an acolyte. Then you're going to get a crypt with one of those acolytes and an altar. Once those are built, send back to the gold mine. Rally your necropolis to your gold mine and build another acolyte. So that way you have 5 acolytes that are going to be going onto that gold mine. Once you hit 150 gold, you're going to whack down a cigarette. And that is going to let you be able to build more units later on. So you're going to want it. So you've got 5 acolytes, 1 ghoul, crypt, altar, cigarette. And of course your necropolis is still standing hopefully at this point in the game, otherwise you're against some insane hack. Now you're going to chuck down a shop. Doesn't really matter whether you build it now or a little bit, because as long as it's up before your hero comes out, essentially. So just build it before your altar of darkness starts. Just gets it done. Now you're going to get yourself ghouls, strangely enough, and of course you can't get a hero just yet because this cigarette is still waiting to finish. So continue creating ghouls, keep them rallied up, but don't rally them too hard because you're going to want to build another cigarette in a moment. Get your hero, in this case it's going to be Death Knight, and get another cigarette. Boom, there we go. 5 acolytes, crypt, altar, cigarette, shop, then ghouls and another cigarette. Now you're basically sorted. All you have to do is just continue massing ghouls, and that's pretty much it. It depends on what you're going for, who you're against, and I'll probably explain that in some more detail a bit later on, but for the moment you're still sticking to the plan, which is just ghouls to start with, and later on you might deter onto graveyard or tech, depending on how your opponents are playing. But anyway, you notice your Death Knights almost are ready to come out. Got another ghoul ready. So if you rally your ghoul to your necropolis, take your ghouls that are currently available, send them to the necropolis, get the wood, get the hero, buy the shop, buy a rod of necromancy and a dust of appearance, and rally them all together and off you go, and continue to build ghouls meanwhile. So always keep building ghouls and it's all good. So that's the build order that you're going to be using every single game. Now let's have a look at the maps that you're going to have turned on and off. Okay, so when you invite your ally, you're going to have a certain map pool to select from. So these are the maps you're going to be turning on and off. So we're going to turn Central Grove off, Excavation Site off, Goldshire on, Lost Temple on, Phantom Grove on, Tranquil Paths on, Tidewater Glades on, Turtle Rock on, Twisted Meadows off, Wetlands off, Knollwood off, and Moonglade on. These maps have been chosen because they yield the most potential for a Ghoul Rush. But what is a Ghoul Rush? How do you Ghoul Rush? Well, as shown with the build order, you get the Death Knight, you get your 5 ghouls, and you get your items, your Rod of Necromancy, your Dust of Appearance, and then you move out. You're going to leave one ghoul behind with the crypt. You'll rally that to the wood. That way you've always got wood accumulating. But otherwise you're going to generally just keep ghouls rallying to your heroes. So you're always building up your ghoul army. Then you're going to meet up with your ally. And then you're going to go and destroy your opponent. Now, those maps are important because they might change the way you play to some degree. For example, what you're trying to do with those maps is they're chosen because some of those maps have certain creatures that drop certain items that can definitely improve the way that your Ghoul Rush is going to play. But if we're looking at certain races now, so any combination of Undead and Night Elf, so double Undead, double Night Elf, Undead and Night Elf, you're always going to want to rush straight away. You're going to ignore all of the creeps except for probably on Tidewater Glades. But as I say, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, and I'll tell you why. But otherwise, the reason why you're going to be rushing Undead and Night Elf straight away is because they are the most vulnerable at the start of the game. So, how do you Ghoul Rush? Well, like I say, you meet up with your ally. You basically, if it's against Undead, you go to the back of their base, surround the gold mine, destroy it. If they have acolytes to kill, then please kill them by all means, or definitely hurt them and kill them if you can if they are repairing. And if it's Night Elf you're going for, then surround the Tree of Life and destroy it. Once you've destroyed the gold mine or the Tree of Life, you get out of that base somehow, whether it's through the town portal or just running out, preferably running out. That way you can sort of build up your army again and go very quickly afterwards, because you want to try to catch them when they're rebuilding their gold mine or their Tree of Life and destroy it again, because it's going to be more vulnerable this time round, because it's going to have the armor won't count, so that way you can kill it quicker. So you always want to keep punishing your enemies, keep attacking them. However, now these maps are going to be a lot more important when you're against Orc and Human, because you're going to want to creep out certain spots that, well, certain creeps that drop certain items, and these items are going to greatly improve your success rate with Ghoul Rush. So against Orc and Human, or double Orc, double Human, you're going to have a hard time. I'm just going to be honest. It's not going to be easy, especially double Human. But against Orc, you might want to get your items from the maps that I'll talk about a little bit later, and then go to the enemy base, destroy the burrows, or destroy the main. So you want to surround it as tightly as possible, work with your ally, flow through that base and destroy it. Human, a lot more difficult. You're probably not going to kill the main hall, but you will try to destroy any militia or peasants possible. If you can beat their armies straight off, then go for it, but it's going to be tough. So with that said, and regarding those races and how they are going to affect how you play, let's have a look at the maps now and see how you are going to use those maps to your advantage. Okay, so this is the world editor, and this is the map Goldshire. And I'm going to play this map in a moment, and I'm going to use this one as a pure example of how you pull back creeps and how you creep them, because it's going to be probably the hardest one to do. So pay attention to when I get round to doing that. But let's have a look at this. So this is how you're going to start off. You're going to have your 5 ghouls, you're going to have your Death Knight. He would have picked up his items, and we're going to bring out the map a little bit. You're going to venture outside of your base. Your teammate is going to be coming with you, and you're going to meet up in the middle. Now, this is where I said that the maps affect how you play. Now, if your opponents are Undead and Night Elf, you are probably going to go for either one, depending on how you feel. You scout out if you want, and you say, which one do we go for? Because bear in mind that you can scout with a ghoul earlier, or someone can send their Death Knight, and then you can, you know, decide which base you're going to go for. But if it's Undead and Night Elf, you're going to choose either the Night Elf main and surround it with ghouls and then destroy it, or you're going to go to the Undead, you're going to surround around the gold mine, destroy it and get out. If you can somehow manage to kill all the acolytes in the main, then go for it. But in this case, you might want to venture down to this spot, this red creep camp at the bottom right, before going to your opponents. Not normally against undead and night elf, as I mentioned, but this is a personal choice. If they were orc and human, you'd almost definitely go and creep this spot first, and perhaps some other spots up at the top if you really wanted to, but then it doesn't so much become a rush. It's just about controlling the game, so you still want a ghoul rush. Okay, so let's have a look at this guy here. He's called the Ogre Lord. He's the guy that we're going to want to pick off and kill and grab his item. Because if we look at this, he's got a random level 5 permanent item, and that could be any one of these following ones. It could be Ancient Django of Endurance, Claws of Attack plus 12, Cloak of Flames, Crystal Ball, Helm of Valor, Hood of Cunning, Kagger's Pipe of Insight, Legion Doom Horn, Medallion of Courage, and Warsong Battle Drums. So the point here is that he's got a good chance of dropping an item that's going to have quite an impact on how you play. Against Undead and Night Elf, they're really vulnerable at the start, so probably don't even worry about killing this guy. But in most other cases, this is where you start taking the maps into account. And you're like, yes, I want to kill this guy because Cloak of Flames in a rush against tier 1 units is going to be insane. So that's what your thinking pattern is here. So what I'm going to do is... what I'd suggest is when you do creep out this spot, because I will say this, I don't know where I'm putting the links to the maps, but I've got some Ghoul Rush playthroughs basically with myself and Thomas. So if you want to see how this is done and how we react with the maps, it doesn't all go to plan, but we do play with a lot of maps and we do try to play out the strategy as best as we can in a live environment. And we work together and you can see how we do it. But what will happen is you'll have your ghouls and Death Knight. So if you were going to creep this spot, Thomas would then come up here, and what he would do is he would keep the enemies busy with his Death Knight. So he'd be harassing in the enemy bases, scoping them out, saying, oh, this guy's a noob, we're going to go attack this guy. Or up at the top here versus the undead, he'd be like, this guy seems really bad, we'll go attack him. Whichever one he prefers. Meanwhile, I'm going to take Thomas's ghouls, because you want to share units at the start of the game. So this gives me a Death Knight and 10 ghouls. Don't forget that you're going to be having ghouls consistently rallying to your hero as the game progresses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change these to player 1, I guess. I can't remember her. There we go. So we're going to assume that those are Thomas's ghouls, okay? And this is my Death Knight. So that's how we're playing this out. So he gives me his ghouls, I use my ghouls, and I take this, and I go down to the bottom right, and I creep it out. So I'll be showing you the other maps via the world editor, which creeps to go for, but this is your basic general, because otherwise this video is going to be like God knows how many hours long if I show you each and every little bit. So this is your basic general way of looking at it. Is if you're doing a really tough spot like the Ogre Lord, you're going to want both armies and one hero, because you want the one hero because he soaks up the experience. He gets level 2 at least, which gives them Unholy Aura, because there's no point both Death Knights getting Unholy Aura. And don't go down the road of asking me why don't we get Death Knight and Dreadlord. We just don't. We do that only on Turtle Rock because you can potentially get level 3, so that means level 2 Carrion Swarm. But like I say, I'll go over this on the maps very briefly, because like I say, this is going to take a long time to go over if I try to get every single little aspect. So here's your Death Knight, here's your ghouls, there's your Ogre Lord. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and creep this out. This is going to be risky, but I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to start recording when the map's loaded, and it's going to load from this point over here with these ghouls, and I'm going to show you how I would creep this spot. Okay? Hello, here we are in Goldshire, just as I've shown you. Got my Death Knight and I've got my 10 ghouls, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and I'm going to hotkey them all together, get nice and comfortable with that. Now one thing I would actually have that I didn't include, and that's going to make this even harder, so if I can pull this off then you have no excuses. Bear in mind this is going to require some pretty intense micro, so if you're not capable of like really good micro, or you don't want to worry about it, then just go and attack your opponent's bases. This is like bonus additional stuff, but you could attack the critter, the rabbit here, get 2 skeletons from it, from a skeleton rod. Unfortunately I forgot to add that on, so I'm not going to worry about it. So Thomas is now harassing. I've got 5 of his ghouls and the other 5 are mine. So that's it. we shared units as allies, and we've gone from there. So the way to creep this out is to try your best, and it's very nasty. So what I do suggest is you don't bother doing this. This is really for the absolute elitists that want to try and do this. And you get your ghouls at the back here. You pull the Ogre Lord using coil, and you run back immediately. So not too immediately, actually. You want to stay around because you want his attention. So just get his attention. There you go, he's chasing you now. So you're going to pull back, and then you're going to send your ghouls in, and you're going to try to get a surround on the Ogre Lord, and then you're going to attack him. Hopefully most of these creeps will stay as far back as possible. Send this ghoul to attack this ghoul if he's getting a lot of pressure on him, and then take him off. Take the item, Warsong Battle Drums, run out. If you need to throw a coil down, boom, it's down. Now you're very well off, to be honest, for the most part. You can always get another coil on that ghoul, and then they're pretty much good to go. So you've got this, increases attack damage of nearby friendly units by 10% when won. So it's only one, doesn't sound like much, but at the very start of the game, that took me no time to do, did it? So instead of going straight to my enemy, this will take you like a maximum of 1 minute extra, and you can always have more and more ghouls. Hello human, that's how the map spawn it. More and more ghouls sort of building, rallied to your hero. So he's always got ghouls coming towards him. So you go and meet up with all of the ghouls, all your armies, go hit one base, and I'll just show you now what you would do, because that's the only creep point I'm interested in this map specifically. But like I say, I'm going to go over the other maps and tell you which creep points to go for. He's actually got no defense whatsoever because I didn't give him any, but this is pretty much what you would expect his base to look like. You can either go for his gold mine, or you can try to get your ghouls. Remember, right click all over the shop until you feel like your ghoul's in a nice position, and then surround. Press M and keep left clicking the Tree of Life, and then right click. So all your ghouls are trying to surround as best as possible the Tree of Life. So then when wisps do come out from the gold mine and from the trees to repair, they're going to have a hard time getting a position where they can repair. So you're going to kill that tree, and then you're going to either run out of the base, if possible, depending on how many losses you're going to take, or just use your town portal if you have one, which you should have one at the very start of the game. And as you can see, more ghouls rallied in. Be careful of angry creep spots on certain maps that we will like to aggro, but this is really a case of trial and error. You have to practice this sort of thing quite a lot. So that creeping mechanism, I'm going to apply that to all the maps. So that's generally how we do it. That's the hardest sort of creep spot to do. The really hard one actually is Turtle Rock. That's where you use a Dreadlord. You pull back the creeps by sleeping the Ogre Mage, and then when they're pulled back, you try to kill the Ogre Lord and try not to lose any ghouls, and then you go back into the creep camp, kill them all off while still not losing any ghouls, and then you kill the Ogre Mage and he drops a rune of healing, and that brings all of your ghouls to full health. But it's incredibly hard to do. So what I will say is, for the most part, you're just going to gather your ghouls with your ally. You're going to go attack your opponent. If you want to use any additional strategies that the maps allow you to, aka just killing creeps off for very good items, then continue to watch and you will see what I mean. Okay, so this is Lost Temple. You got your Death Knight, you got your 5 ghouls, and you're gonna creep out the Rock Golem because he drops a level 4 charged item, which is of course one of the following: Ank of Reincarnation, Book of the Dead, Healing Wards, Health Stone, Mana Stone, and Wand of the Wind. Game breaking items basically. You turn up in your opponent's base with Healing Wards or Book of the Dead, you've basically won. So with this guy, he is an absolute pain in the butt, but that's what he does. So you're gonna get your Death Knight, you're gonna aggro them, so you can either coil, but I wouldn't suggest it on the bottom left camp because you want to pull this guy. Because what happens is, if you coil this berserker and then run back, he will bolt you, but he will stand still. But you want him to chase you. So if anything, go right up to him, get in his face, attack him, get him to bolt you. You're going to take some damage, but he will chase you. So then pull him all the way back. His whole crew will chase after you. Pull him as far as you can, and then come round, surround him, and kill him whilst they're sort of running back and forth. And remember how I showed you before, use your ghouls to attack each other or your hero. This will stop them from being targets of the enemies. But as soon as you stop them attacking your own units or allied units, the creeps might start to attack them again. So it's sometimes worth just leaving a ghoul attacking because they don't do much damage on a healthier ghoul or something like that, just to make sure it doesn't die. So that's what you do with this creep camp. Up at the top right, it takes longer for your ally to get there, so you're going to spawn here, you're going to go to your closest shop, your ally's going to spawn at the top, he's going to go to the closest shop. It's just generally the way it works in Lost Temple. You go to the closest shop from where you spawn, and he's going to have Death Knight. Now this guy does not play very nice either. They're real pains, so all I can say is, if you want to do this, be prepared to put the practice in, because it is a nightmare. So you're going to basically do the same. You're going to, well, not quite so much. You're going to coil the Berserker, and then you're going to run away. Now, in an ideal world, he's going to stand there. No, what you want to do is you want to get bolted, sorry. So he stands still. So you want to coil, stand here, get bolted, run away. Now, ideally, the trolls will chase after you and the rock golem won't. And then when the trolls get to about this point, you want to make sure you do damage to them so they don't run back. This way you can actually creep out the trolls without having the rock golem interfere. Because otherwise there's no way to do the rock golem here, from what I've been practicing so far, where you don't fight the trolls at the same time. So you're going to take a lot of damage if you try to do it that way. So I suggest you coil the trolls, pull them back, kill them off around here, and then go and finish the rock golem. So obviously the top right camp is going to take the longest, which means that the bottom left camp should be done by now, and he's going to either go to the middle because it will be night time, heal up, and meet up with his ally who will be still creeping, and then they're going to go together, attack the nearest opponent or the best opponent, whoever they are, because you can always scout with ghouls. Okay, so this is Phantom Grove. Now, say for example you spawn at the left hand side and your ally spawns at the top. You will go and creep this spot first. You want to only kill the Dire Frostwolf because he can drop a level 4 charged item. So with this creep camp, you're going to use your Death Knight, you're going to coil them, you're going to pull them back, and then when you can, you're going to try to get a surround on the wolf and then kill it. But it's easier said than done. Now, if you really want to, you can also creep this camp. And by creep this camp, I mean just kill this wolf, because he drops a level 3 charged item, which is pretty also insane. I'll show you what the level 3 charge does. It's Potion of Greater Healing, Potion of Greater Mana, which is pretty insane. Invulnerability, also insane. Scroll of the Beast, very insane for a fairy rush where both teams get together. Wand of Mana Stealing has potential depending on what opponents you're against. So all good for rushing, basically, those items. So once you've done that, you either meet up with your ally and go and attack a base, or you can split up and attack a base each, because you're really close to where your opponent's base is. Whereas at the top, your ally is going to do this guy and then this wolf. But you don't have to do this wolf as well. It's just because he's easy to do, so he drops a level 3 charged item. So remember, Dire Wolf, level 6, very nasty piece of work, has crit, so be very careful. Make sure he's trying to attack a healthy unit, otherwise he will pretty much one-shot it. So pull him back, creep him without the trolls, preferably, or minimum troll interference, and then this wolf as well. So the 2 big wolves of each camp for each player. Okay, this is Tranquil Paths. Now this map is quite interesting indeed, because it has the most potential, apart from Tidewater Glades, which we'll get to, although it does actually have the most potential if you're willing to do it, but I'm distracting myself. But it also has the biggest sort of dilemma, and this dilemma is, as you can see, this is the only map where it actually has random creeps. So you could either come across a gnoll camp or an ogre camp here. And the same goes for this spot. You could either be against Ogre Mage or Drakes. So this is a map you'll have to play by ear when you come across it. The reason why is because when you spawn at the bottom right, just say for example you spawn at the bottom right, you're going to take your Death Knight, you're going to go do, come all the way over here, you're going to kill the middle creep. Your ally is going to do the same, the middle green creep, because he drops a level 2 charged item. These are really good. Anything that is charged is basically good for rushing. Wand of Lightning Shield is what you really want, but the others can be okay. So you're going to do these camps each, and then you're going to scout out with your Death Knight, although you can scout in advance with a Ghoul, because obviously you want to see what your opponent bases are like and stuff like that. So whilst you're scouting, pay attention to this creep camp. Is it an Ogre Mage camp, or is it the Drakes? Because if it's an Ogre Mage camp, you have a level 4 charged item, and it's very easy to kill an Ogre Mage. It doesn't show you the statistics, but I think they have about 650 health, and that isn't much when you've got it surrounded. So you coil it, or you pull it back, because coiling an Ogre Mage might not always work, because they have the animation of Bloodlust. So when you coil them from maximum range, they cast Bloodlust, and then they don't chase, because they were busy casting Bloodlust whilst you're doing that. So you've got to get close to them, got to get their attention, got to pull them back, pull them into this area, pull them as far back as you can do without them running back completely, surround them, kill them, take the level 4 charged item, and then go meet up with your ally and attack this base or this base. If you want to push your luck even further, you can also creep out this middle creep camp as well at the green camps, at the gold mines, because, you know, Wand of Lightnings are really good. But obviously remember that if you have 2 lots of them, they all have the same internal cooldown. Now if you don't have any luck with the Ogre Magi, you might just want to stick to just doing the 2 green camps and then go. Or if you want to push your luck further, you can try to go for the Ogre Lord, which has a level 6 permanent item. Sounds insane, I know, but it actually isn't that great. Orb of Darkness on 2 Death Knights isn't too amazing. Pendant of Mana is pretty damn good. There's some good stuff there, but it's not going to really rock the world in rushing. The other thing that makes it more difficult is that there's a chance for it to not be the Ogre Lord and be this guy instead, which is the giant frickin' rock golem guy, who's never fight him. So what was I talking about a little bit earlier when I was saying this map has potentially the most potential? Because Tidewater Glades is your best map overall, guaranteed, because it doesn't have randomized creeps like this map. This map could be the best, but it depends on the random luck, random generator. This guy in the middle here, surrounded by trees. Let's have a look at what he drops. A level 6 charged item. We have yet to get a game where we're going to do this, but I know what I want to do. And you can do this with Double Undead. If you were playing with an ally and you get Tranquil Pass, this is the one case where I would say don't do ghouls necessarily, although if you do want a ghoul rush, go ahead, because you go fiends and then you can kill this guy, and I'll show you how. I won't actually physically show you, I'll tell you how, because otherwise it takes forever. So he can either drop Amulet of the Wild, Demonic Figurine, Ice Shard, Inferno Stone, Scroll of Animate Dead, Scroll of Resurrection. So the last 2 not being as amazing, that's still pretty damn amazing, Scroll of Resurrection. But yeah, imagine turning up in your opponent's base who's got a tier 1 army, you have a tier 1 army, and you've got Inferno Stone. Game over. So how do you get to this guy? Well, what you do is near the start of the game, you send a ghoul to chop the trees. So you kill this tree here, that tree, that tree, that tree. So then what happens is, as these trees are gone, you've got access inside. You pull and aggro this creep camp, and you pull this guy out. You try to position him so he comes out, and he'll be out here. But the thing that happens is that there's a whole load of other creeps as well, and they're all standing here, and they're all bugging out. And this guy gets annoyed, the big guy, and he tries to run back to his original creep camp. But he can't, because he's blocked, because there's creeps here. So whilst you've got a fiend here, a fiend here, a fiend here, a fiend here, you'll have 2 fiends each at least. You can attack him with ranged consistently and take like no damage, and he can't do anything about it. He might bug out and try to run around some weird angles, but generally you're going to kill him and take almost no damage in doing so. Whereas if you try to do this with ghouls, you are going to have a horrible time, because he has the ability to slam on the ground and basically kill all of your ghouls before you kill him. I'll be impressed if you could do it. But if you did do it, you'd probably lose so many ghouls that it wouldn't be worth rushing your opponent anyway, because you wouldn't have an army to do so. So that's just a little bonus there. Just bear in mind that guy. If you do get this map and you're both undead, which you would be if you're doing Ghoul Rush, you could potentially creep this spot out and say to each other, this case scenario, we're going to go Fiends instead. And try to get an Inferno Stone. And that could be a hell of a lot of fun. Hey, this is Tidewater Glades. Now, I've never been a big fan of this map, but for Ghoul Rush, it's ironically like the best map. Not so much that ironic, it's just ironic for me because I hate this map and it turns out to be the best map. If you don't get the best case scenario on Tranquil Pass where you get the Ogre Magi, because the Ogre Magi's also drop level 4 charged items. But we'll get to that in a moment. So you're going to spawn here, for example, your ally's going to spawn down here. You're both going to move to the middle green camp nearest your side and kill the middle guy, although it's easy enough with the amount of ghouls you're going to have to just kill all of these creeps if you really want to. But he's going to drop a level 2 charged item, so that's probably going to be Wand of Lightning, you hope, or Wand of Illusion, or Sentry Wards, or the Rejuvenation part. And then once you've killed him, picked him off, you're going to, by the way, bear in mind that you have critters here that you can kill on the way. Kill them and get skeleton rods to activate on their corpses, so you get 2 skeletons. So you're going to kill them, then you're going to come up to this creep camp over here. So the outside gold mines. This guy here, the Troll Warlord, drops a level 4 charged item, and we all know what those are. Those are the really good stuff. Look at that. Any one of those. I mean, Book of the Dead. Come on. This is really easy to do. You coil him, and because he's ranged, he's not like the Rock Golem and be a pain in the butt and won't follow you. He will almost definitely follow you. So you pull him back as far as you can, and then you get a surround on him and you kill him with your ghouls. Now these creeps are going to be annoying. Like all creeps, they're going to run back and forth and they're going to hit you as well, but the main thing is to try to kill this guy without losing any units. And then once you've done that, and your ally will be doing the same at the same time, you're going to go and meet up and attack one of these bases over here. Either opponent, depending on which one they are and you know what race they are and how their base looks. But this is the map of all maps because it's really quick and easy to do this. Right at the start of the game, you get skeleton rods. Boom. You kill this guy. He takes no effort to kill. Wand of Lightning Shield in an ideal world. And then you come over here, coil this guy, pull him back, surround him, kill him, Book of the Dead potentially. And then you go. Wand of Lightning Shield, Book of the Dead. If you've both got that item, you cannot lose. You just will not lose. And then you go over and you're at your opponent's base. So it's very quick. And it has basically, on average, the best items that you will get. Hello, welcome to Turtle Rock. Now this is the one that I suggest that you just go with your ally and you go and attack your opponents. This can either go really well for you or really bad. If they're both human, you're going to have a very hard time. So you're probably going to want to go for items. So if you do want to go for items, then what you're going to do is you're actually going to, in the original one, like Goldshire, most of the time you're going to be creeping separately with your own Death Knights and you're going to be picking up the items. But on certain maps you might want to try to boost a certain hero to get him to level 2 for Unholy Aura. Or in this case, get a Dreadlord and get him to level 3 for level 2 Carrion Swarm, which will actually be very effective against human early game. Level 2 Carrion Swarm can do a maximum of 600 damage. So that's spread over like a whole load of militia. You can shoot that off like several times in an ideal world. So yeah, it's pretty potentially game breaking early on. So if we spawn here, if I spawn here and my ally spawns up here, what's going to happen is he gets his Death Knight and he gets his 5 ghouls. He sends his Death Knight out to harass the enemy, get their attention, keep them off me. He's going to send his 5 ghouls down to my base and I'm going to go Dreadlord. So I'm going to have a Dreadlord, 5 ghouls here, 5 ghouls in my base. I'm going to go creep out this spot because it will just give me the little bit extra experience I need. And the item itself isn't that big a deal, but I can creep it with like no damage taken. And then what you're going to do is, because you're waiting ideally for night time, but it doesn't actually matter too much. But no, you don't actually have to wait for night time on this, but really you do want to kind of wait for like 6 ghouls each, which you can do if you creep this camp out. And then you're going to have ideally 6 ghouls each, so 12 ghouls and a dreadlord. You're going to come down here, you're going to approach this creep camp, and you want to kill all of these. The reason why is because this guy is going to give you a very hard time, and he's not going to play ball like some of the other ogre lords do. So you're going to take a lot of damage. So you're going to kill this guy, get a level 2 power up item, which could be a Tome of Experience. So, and you're also going to get a level 5 permanent item, which is, you know, potentially insane, or also potentially very bad. Crystal Ball. It's a risk you take, but you're gonna. This ogre magi drops a rune of healing, and the rune of healing heals everything in the vicinity to maximum health, or at least it seems that way. At least with ghouls it does. So the problem I have with this creep camp is it seemed nigh impossible to pull this guy back and only fight this guy, because he kind of bugs out and gets stuck along these guys. So when you're trying to kill this guy, you're always pretty much going to be fighting against these guys as well. So you can either wait till night time if you really wanted to, come in, surround him, you'll have definite 6 ghouls then, and kill him off. Sleep the ogre magi because you don't want him casting bloodlust on anyone, and sleep on a level 5 creep will keep it slept for long enough. If you try to sleep a level 6 creep or above, it's only gonna last a few seconds, so it's not worth it. But if you can, you're gonna approach with your dreadlord. You're gonna, so just to give you a visual here, nothing more than just a visual, and I can't be bothered to put down the right amount of ghouls, but there you go. You're gonna have your dreadlord, you're gonna have your ghouls. Your ghouls are gonna be hanging back. Let's get rid of a couple. Your dreadlord. So you're gonna have your ghouls here. I've got locked in game camera. There we go. Ugh, I'm getting all sorts of weird settings. There we go. Dreadlord. Here he is. He's gonna approach this base. He's gonna sleep the ogre magi before he can do a bloodlust. These are all gonna go and spaz out and then start sort of like running towards, instead of just having this guy come after you. You're gonna have them all. And then they're going to come. Look at them. They're going to come over here. Hopefully, in an ideal world, he's going to be somewhat separated enough. By the time he gets to this point in the creep camp, you're going to go, hello, with my ghouls, surround him, and then basically kill him. You probably don't want to sleep anymore. Not so much because it's helpful, because it will be helpful to even sleep even berserkers, because they will do damage. But mostly because you want, if you're going for level 2 carrion swarm, you're going to want as much mana as possible. So one sleep is going to cost you 100 mana. You don't really want to spend any more. Kill this guy, pay attention to your ghoul's health. You probably will lose a ghoul or two. It's quite hard to do this creep camp without losing anything. So creep this off. Then, if you can, still don't lose any ghouls. Kill these guys off, and then finish off this guy. And the idea is that all of your ghouls are going to be battered, but none of them are going to be dead. So when you get the rune of healing from this guy, everything's healed to maximum. Absolute maximum, and then you've got a level 2 carrion swarm to go and play with, because you go to your opponent's base and hopefully they're human, and if they're not, it's still going to do good damage and carrion swarm the hell out of them. If you for some reason do not manage to get level 3 out of this, you can also just kill off a couple of creeps on the way. So this is Turtle Rock. It's an absolute pain, but if you're willing to do it, you could get the reward. And this is the one case where I'd probably suggest going Dreadlord, because of the potential level 3. A level 3 Death Knight, you know, isn't going to make as much of an impact as a level 3 Dreadlord will. And in case you're wondering, Vampiric Aura, it's not worthwhile. We've done tests. It's just not that impressive. You might say, oh, level 2 Vampiric Aura will be really good on all those ghouls. No, not really. It's barely noticeable. Even the level 3 version is barely noticeable. Level 3 Carrion Swarm, doing 600 damage each time you cast it. You're going to have 345 mana potentially. It's going to cost you 110 mana. You're going to get 3 of those out, unless you get mana burnt. But generally, you're going to get 3 of those out. That's going to be a potential of a maximum of 1800 damage. There is no way you are going to make up for 1800 worth of healing with Vampiric Aura on your ghouls. Never going to happen. You would have to fight for almost an hour to probably get that with your ghouls. I know that's an exaggeration, but come on. Definitely, believe me, Carrion Swarm is the way to go. You go Dreadlord on this map, lots of ghouls, creep this guy out, creep the rest of the camps, don't lose any ghouls, finish this guy off, get the Rune of Healing, get your level 2 Carrion Swarm with your level 3 Dreadlord, and then you can get, you know, you'll still have the level 1 Sleep, so you won't have Vampiric Aura, but it's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. Alright. Last but not least is Moonglade. So on Moonglade, you, say for example, spawn here, and your ally spawns up here. You're going to take your Death Knight, and you're going to take your 5 ghouls. You're going to come, either pull back this Firbolg Tracker, or just try to kill him straight up. But probably, preferably, try to pull him back, and get us around, because this guy over here, he drops a level 4 charged item. And so does the one up here. So you got to remember, it's the one at the bottom on each camps. So the Firbolg Tracker at the bottom, because there's 2 Firbolg Trackers. So it's the Firbolg Tracker underneath the Mercenary camp that drops the level 4 charged item. So you go and kill the Firbolg Tracker underneath the Mercenary camp, pick up the level 4 charged item, meet up with your ally, and go and decimate them. So this is actually a pretty good map. If you are interested in any of the other maps, feel free to try them out. Look at them on the world editor, see what the potential is. But myself and Thomas, we've been through these maps, and we feel that the maps that I've selected and shown you today in this guide are the best ones, because of these reasons that I've laid out. But the other maps, they have a little bit of potential, but I wouldn't worry about them too much. So if you've enjoyed this guide, please like, favourite and comment. Big thumbs up. Really helps, and I hope that you've got a lot out of this. And if you're interested in seeing how Ghoul Rush actually plays out, then you can check out the links. I'll put up some annotation links, but in case you haven't got them, they'll be in the description as well. For the Ghoul Rush, there's going to be 3 parts, I believe. So 3 parts of myself and Thomas playing Ghoul Rush. Now I'm going to tell you right now that those Ghoul Rushes do not go to plan. Not many of them, but you'll get a feel for it. And the more we do it, and the more you do it, now that you've seen this guide, the better we all get at it, so that we can perfect it and get those level 4 charged items with like minimal damage. But in these Ghoul Rush playthroughs, sometimes the games went a little bit rough. That's all I'll say. But we were hot off the press after practicing the maps only a short amount of time. So if you're going to be doing this as well, you'll find the same cases. When you play it live against other players, it's a different ball game. But the more you practice it and the more you play it, the easier it gets and the more you decimate your opponents. So thanks again for watching, and take care.